live. So you may have to bear with me because this is the first time I've ever done a Substack live. It looks like everything's working now, and you should be able to see my screen. If you do happen to be here and you are watching, please let me know if you can see my screen. Just drop me a yes, and then we'll get rolling. So, what is this? So, this is the first official coffee and curriculum. So, the goal with these is to give you an opportunity to go through the core components of the Project Tempest curriculum. So that'll be the philosophies, the frameworks, um, some of the training from inside the books and the systems and everything. So the goal here is to give you a look inside of everything and actually give you some stuff you can action as well. So at the end of every session, there'll be either some questions for you to postulate on, there will be some work for you to do, there'll be something useful that you will take away from this. It's not just going to be information, it will also be execution, because that's how we work inside Project Tempest. Everything is about learn what we need to do, get clear on what we need to do, and then go do it. And then when you've done it, look at the data, adjust, do it again, or do it differently. So, in terms of calendar and schedule, these may be every month, they may be every 6 weeks, they may be every 8 weeks. It depends entirely on what's going on inside the world of Project Tempest and what I'm deep in the world of building. At the moment, you may have seen that I'm building the curriculum for the martial arts portion of the Dangerous Woman Society. So, because I've posted about that a lot recently, I'm building out that, and that's going to be filmed and sorted and uploaded into the Dangerous portal very soon. I'm also building something called the system. So, you may be aware that we have the books, all of these books, Ground Zero, R4, Shield, Trilogy. They're all on Amazon. Okay, you can go and get those whenever the hell you want. You've got to buy them, they're there. But what I'm doing at the moment is I am building the system. So the system is going to be a physical product that you can hold in your hand, made up of the books and some other assets and some other useful things, but also a very intelligent AI system that will map the books to you and your goals, your life, your time frames, everything that you need. Okay. It will literally pull out the chapters and the protocols from all of the books and put them into a plan for you to follow. Okay. Based on your specific constraints and what you need to be working on. So that the system is being built as we speak. So I'm excited to drop that. Now, today, I'm going to start at the start. The 3C philosophy. Project Tempest has gone through a lot of evolution over the last few years. It started with some books, funnily enough, and then it went into some live cohort group style training, and it's expanded outward, and it's gone off in lots of different directions. But this has always stayed the same. This is the underlying philosophy that everything inside Project Tempest is built on, the 3C philosophy. And it's this idea that we exist on a continuum. And it's our job to move from chaos to clarity to creation. And if we can do that, then we're going to be in a better place to get whatever it is we're looking to get, whatever we want to achieve, whatever, I don't like the word goals, but whatever goals we have. Okay. So this is the underpinning philosophy. This is where we start. So everything sits on this continuum. Everything is aligned on top of it. This is the foundations, okay? Chaos, clarity, creations. And it's 3 different states, and they follow each other. And the idea is that it's diagnostic. It tells you where you're at, and that then determines the work that you should be doing. Most of what gets sold in the personal development world and mindset world and all that stuff just assumes that you are already here in creation mode. You're ready to execute and do what you need to do. So that may be productivity systems, strategies, tools, morning routines, biohacking, 90-day plans, for all these different things. Okay. These are what I call creation level tools. They're the things that you use to get a result. But using those tools assumes that you have the capacity to actually run them. And that is where things go wrong. Because most people are existing in chaos. They're not in the clarity phase yet. They're in the chaos phase, but they're trying to use creation level tools while operating in a chaos level state. And then they wonder why it doesn't work. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. You can't go from chaos to creation. Clarity, this bit in the middle, is important. This is the bridge. Okay. So let's look at chaos a bit more. Chaos is essentially the load. I use it as an umbrella term for everything that is load on your nervous system. Okay. So it might be poor sleep. It might be unregulating stress. It may be relationships, poor health, grief, grieving, loss. It may be unsuitable environment. It may be volume of work, whatever it is. All of these different things that are pulling at you and putting load onto your system, they are part of your chaos. Okay. They are your chaos. And they cost you. They cost you your capacity. Now, none of those individual things that you see here, they're not crises on their own, okay? May feel like it at times, but they're not. They are what they are. But because they're not major crises, most of it doesn't get addressed. It just gets accepted as, well, it's part of life, just crack on and deal with it. And that's admirable. And most of the women that I work with, in particular type of woman who does just get her head down and get on. She's not victim mode. She's not whining. She's not whinging. She's very much, well, this is a situation. Get on with it. And I get that because that's exactly how I am. And it's admirable. It's useful, but it also means that you often don't realize just how much you are carrying. Yes, you can survive, but all of it comes at a cost because you keep absorbing this stuff. You keep carrying this stuff over and over and over again on a loop. But the problem is your system is finite. It doesn't have unlimited capacity. You don't have unlimited resources, but you live in like you do. And therein lies the problem. So chaos, as I said, it's not a massive crisis. It doesn't cause you to collapse. And in many instances, a collapse would actually be useful because it's this thing that people can see and then they can respond to it. But what happens to women like you and like me is we just become less. We are eroded by the chaos. We don't have a meltdown. We don't have a complete catastrophic failure of everything. We don't fall apart. Nothing just goes boom. It's just a case of becoming less sharp, less focused, less decisive, less charismatic, less funny, almost less intelligent. I know that when my capacity drops, my ability to communicate, my humor, all of those things disappear dramatically. And you almost become something that you're not. It's a poor representation of who you actually are and what you can do. But the doing still happens because that's who you are. You still do stuff. You still get shit done. And this happens very slowly. And most of the time you don't actually notice it until it's been going on for a long time. And then you don't really recognize yourself anymore because you're still functioning, you're still delivering, you're still producing, you're still doing everything that you need to do. And nobody else around you can actually say, oh, actually, there's a problem. She's not quite right. And that doesn't really work because it's not evidence that there's anything wrong or that you need an intervention or you need to sort something out. It's just evidence that you and your lifestyle has become very expensive to run. You're the one that is paying the fee. So it comes down to being under-resourced. Most people think, oh, maybe it's just me, maybe I am not enough. Maybe I'm inadequate in some way because I can't handle all of this as well as I should. But that's not the case. It's just lack of capacity and being under-resourced in terms of what your nervous system can hold. It's not a character flaw. It's just life's load. And you can figure out what the load is. You can count it. You can quantify it. And then when you can quantify something, then you can reduce it. So, the bridge, clarity, the next stage, the bit that everybody wants to skip because it's almost the boring part because it's where the work happens. It doesn't look particularly productive because reducing load and minimizing variables, it doesn't actually sit well with most women, in particular the women I sit with, because I feel like they need to do more. I've got a problem, so I'm going to solve it by doing more. I'm going to introduce all of this to fix this one problem. When in reality, it's more a case of actually what can we reduce? Most women will reach for those creation level tools, the strategies and things, because they think it's a proper answer. It feels productive. It gives you that dopamine hit. You feel like you're doing something about it. And most of us have been rewarded for our output, for our ability to do things our entire life. A lot of our identity is built around our ability to show up and produce and get shit done. And as soon as we try and reduce that, it becomes a conflict of who we think we are and what we think we should be doing. So it can be very difficult. But what clarity actually is just this smaller thing. It's knowing what you need to work on, like in its simplest form, and then just getting on and doing that. And as I said, a lot of the time that's actually reducing things. It's not reaching for another tool or another training. It's reaching for the right tool or the right training and focusing specifically on that. It's always very much around, did I do this thing, yes or no? And if I did, what was the result? And then what can we do next? Okay. Because when you have clarity, you also have capacity. You can't have clarity without capacity. You can't make good decisions when you are depleted and when your nervous system is stuck. So in order to have clarity, we need to have capacity. The two go hand in hand. So the bridge between chaos and creation will always be clarity, because when you have clarity, you have capacity. It's where the work gets done. It's where we start to figure out, right, this is what I need to do, and I'm going to go and do it. So this is why we always focus on clarity second. You need to have enough reduced load to help you rebuild your capacity so that you can become clear on what the next steps are. And then it becomes easier to figure out the variables, to figure out what creation level tools you need to use. So effort without direction is chaos accelerated. So think about that for a moment while I have some coffee. So creation. It's part that everybody wants to jump to because this is where you're at your best. It's where you're in what I call the fire. If you've heard me talk about the fire in the fade model, fire is you at your best. You're a high level producer. You're doing what you need to do. You're getting results. You're in the creation mode. But like I said, most people can't get there, or they try and skip it, which of course means they struggle because capacity is the currency of creation. Okay. You can be, calm, you can be clear, but if you don't have enough capacity, then nothing matters. You don't have the capacity to hold all of those things you need to do in creation mode, because creation mode is very much an active mode. It's a phase of activity. It's where you're doing the stuff. In order to do the stuff, you need to have the capacity to hold all of that. So clarity gives you the plan and gives you the baseline and everything else you need. But in order to run the plan, you need capacity. Like, there's no point having an incredible plan with all these details and everything that you're going to do and having it all available to you if you don't have the capacity to run the plan. So the creation state is the state we want to get into, but it's when our load and our capacity are where they need to be and we have direction. We have the direction and we have enough capacity to go and follow that direction. And it's the one that everybody wants because it's a fancy one. It's the one that is visible. It's the one that produces the most data. It's the one that gives us the results. But you can't stay in that state. You can't stay in the fire without having enough capacity or having clarity around what you're actually doing, having your direction set. So, the sequencing error. So, as we said before, the industry sells you systems, strategies, tools, frameworks, all of this stuff. And it works. Most stuff is well built. Okay. A lot of stuff is solid. It works. But it's being done in the wrong order. There's absolutely no point trying to set goals and build a plan for yourself if you are in chaos mode. which is where most people are operating. It doesn't work. And it's not the system that doesn't work, it's the order that doesn't work. Okay, it's a sequencing error. It's essentially the right thing, but in the wrong order or at the wrong time. We always need to think what's the right thing at the right time. And this is where most people fall into the pattern of, well, I'm inconsistent, I can't stick to anything, I suck, whatever, because they've got the right tool, but they're doing it in the wrong order. They try all these things and they don't hold, and they can't stick with it. So they think, oh, I have no discipline, I am inconsistent, I am this, I am that, there's something wrong with me. When that's not the case. It's just that you've been given a creation level tool when you were in a chaos level state and you couldn't hold it. And then you believe that the failure is something that's wrong with you. You have a commitment problem, you have a mindset problem, you have a discipline problem, you have this, that, and the other. You don't. It's just the wrong sequence. Okay? So, structures, systems, sequences, they work. And I'm never going to argue against that. I'm literally building a system now. But the purpose of this system that I'm building is the right system in the right order to give you the capacity to put you into creation phase. Whereas most things are creation level tools that are just not going to get you there. So, what's the cost of all of this? There is a cost. We already said the first cost to being stuck in chaos is your capacity just gets worn away and away and away and it erodes at you. But it's also your reliability to yourself, not to other people, because you're never going to let anyone down because that's not who you are. You are the steadfast person that everybody relies on. You will show up for them, but you won't show up for yourself because you cannot. So this costs you your reliability to yourself, which erodes at your trust, and you start to doubt yourself, your confidence, your self-belief. All of this starts to drop because you have this record of starting and falling off. You run a restart, it lasts a few days. You start a new fitness plan, you last a month before you drop off. You start a new diet plan, it lasts 3 days. All of these things, they're data points that show you where you have fallen off, and they become stories about yourself and your abilities and your confidence, all these different things. We collect them over years and years and years, and they start to shift our identity and what we believe about ourselves and who we believe we are and what we believe we can do. So you draw conclusions from that. And you go deeper and deeper and deeper into these stories. So it costs you. It costs you your identity, your reliability to yourself. And it all has this knock-on effect that goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So how does it actually fail? A system that's running over its capacity will just keep running. But as it's running, it will become less and less reliable. Output will become inconsistent, and the things that you used to do easily start to require far more effort. It still works. You still work every day. And that's why no one really looks into it, because you're still producing, but you're becoming less and less and less, and things are starting to slip. And this is what we call going into the fade. So your nervous system is just doing what it needs to do to try and protect you, but you're gradually eroding and becoming less and less and less. And you're still trying to run the systems. It might be a different system every time, but you're still trying to run and do all these things and still deliver and still show up. But you're becoming less consistent within that. So we can look at this as evidence, okay? And we can view it in two frames. Same evidence, frame one, that there's something wrong with you. Same evidence, frame two, actually this is just a capacity problem, which is reversible. It's something that we can do. We can reduce the load. We can increase capacity. We can learn to run things in the right order. And then all of a sudden, we get the results. And this is where looking at things a bit more objectively rather than trying to take things personally can help. Okay? So that's the difference. It helps you decide what action you're going to take. If you think you have a character problem and there's a flaw and there's something wrong with you, then you're going to start going off in one direction, attempting to fix that and going down a route you probably don't need to go down. Whereas if we look at it from the frame of actually, it's just a capacity problem, it's simpler to fix. a lot simpler to fix. So, if you look back at your entire record of all the systems and the things you've tried to do and you started and you stopped, you look at it through the lens of the continuum and where you are on that continuum, you can actually say, well, every time I've tried to do this, this, and this, I've been in chaos mode, but I've been trying to run like I'm in creation mode. And you can see why it doesn't work. Because the system wasn't the variable, the system wasn't wrong. Your state was the variable. I hesitate to say that you're in the wrong state because I don't like the way that the connotations of that and the way that might be perceived, but essentially you were in the wrong state for what you were trying to achieve. So that means everything you've collected, all the evidence, the stories, the beliefs, everything you've collected about yourself isn't actually true. We can start to question that. Your record of reliability was taken from a system that was just being run over capacity when you're in a chaos, when you're in the chaos state. So it's got zero reading on who you actually are, your character and your capabilities. And this is something you can test. If you bring down the load, reduce the load, and you up your capacity, figure out what you're going to work on and just take one thing and run with it, chances are it's going to hold. And that means it wasn't you. It was just wrong system, wrong state. Okay. It's pretty straightforward. And hopefully this is making sense. Okay. So that's why we do it in this order. Because the order is the thing that just helps you figure out what state you're in and how you should act based on that. And how you become more reliable to yourself based on what you're doing. Okay. So some questions for you, some homework as such. You don't need to send me the answers. You don't need to do anything. You just write these out and just think about them, ponder them. So question 1, list out everything that is currently a load for you, everything that exists in your little chaos state, a load list. Don't think of it like a to-do list. Think of it as an actual load list. So what's weighing on you? And there are a lot of items that are going to be on there. And it helps to just see it all in one place. Because when you look at it, you go, actually, that's quite a lot that I'm carrying. Then go through and organize them. What's optional? Okay. Because chances are you think everything is necessary and it's not. This is about recognizing what's optional and what can be potentially delegated or removed or even just downright deleted. Question 3, where are you on the continuum? And what's your evidence for that? Be honest. Most people will be in chaos. Number 4, what's the last thing you started and didn't finish? And what state were you in when you started it? And be honest about that, because it will shift how you view your failures. Question 5, what have you been thinking or calling a discipline problem that's actually a sequencing problem? For example, I sign up to the gym and I go for a week and then I fall off. Something like that. Consider those. Question 6, if the load came down by 1/3, what's the first thing you'd do? What's the first decision you'd make? So if you reduce your load, you just automatically cut that by in half. What would you do? What would you decide? And then 7, what would you attempt again from a different state to find out if it was you or if it was just a state? Think about something that you've put off or you stopped doing that you wanted to do, but you just didn't have the capacity for it. If you're in a different state, would you do it? So that's your questions. Okay. So hopefully this makes sense. The 3C philosophy is everything that underpins what we do in Project Tempest, the work that we do within the system itself, the work that we do within the Dangerous Woman Society. It's all based on this. It's all based on getting you out of chaos, improving your capacity so that you can then get clarity, build out your plans and move into creation phase and start doing the stuff that you want to do and get the results that you want. The system is built around that. So we start with ground zero, this one, 48-hour recalibration into R4, which is where we build your infrastructure, the shield, where we govern it seasonally. And then the trilogy is where you go into the more nuanced stuff, the more mindset-y stuff, because most people would start there. They'll start with the mindset. When you don't have a mindset problem, you have a capacity problem. And there's no point fiddling around thinking about your mindset when your nervous system's fried. So that's where we start. And we build it out, and everything is actionable. Um, like I said, you can go get the books on Amazon if you want to start now, or if you want access to the full system when it comes out with the AI that's going to be trained on it, it's going to be mapping everything to you. It's good. I've tested it so far. It's good. I've just got a couple of tweaks to make. You get it all delivered to you in a box. So you'll literally have a system that can sit on your shelf with the books, some extra bits and pieces in there, because that's how we do things in Project Tempest. And you'll get that, and you'll map it all, and you can build out your entire system based on all of that. If you want that and you're waiting for that, just drop me a message, and as soon as it's ready, I'll send you the link. But that's it. Next, coffee and curriculum. I think we will talk about the R4 framework. But for now, just consider where you're at on this continuum. Go through the questions, answer them, and just think about it a little bit. And if it made sense, let me know. If it didn't make sense, let me know. And I'll see you on the next one.